Well, it is another beautiful day that the Lord has made. Thank y'all for tuning in. We have a very special guest, the first Bonanza employee and the manager of Express Livestock Genomics, the one that gets you the fastest results in the world. It is all on the shoulders of Miss Mary Callaway. Thank you for coming in today.
Of course, glad to be here.
Yeah, I got her out of the office. She's usually nerding it up in there.
It's my happy place.
Away from people and into the science. I couldn't do it.
We know.
So today we are going to get into some genetic defect stuff, and you're hearing it from the person that's not dumbly educated like me, but the one that not only went to A&M, learned while she was there, and got her master's. Mary, what was your master's in?
Reproductive physiology.
Try to spell that one. I can't even say it.
Reproductive physiology.
See, there we go. Mary did what was it, finding your thesis whenever you did some of the test stuff?
Yeah, some of the protocol kind of stuff was similar to what I had to do during my thesis research.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to debunk some common myths today, and we're going to hopefully give you an easy way to see the do's and don'ts on utilizing and breeding around for these genetic defects. You know, some of y'all are against these, and so you want to breed them out of your herd. Some of y'all are for them, and you show cattle people want them in on purpose because they make your cattle look a certain way. And so we're going to give you the information to let you make the best decision for you and your operation. Mary is very good at simply explaining the science behind how and why it works. And the first thing that we are going to answer is the question, hey, here I am, breeds TH pretty hot, right? And so is this new bull, does he breed hot on TH? And what people mean by that is if I were to breed this TH carrying bull to another TH carrying cow, am I going to hit having dead TH positive calves at a higher rate because whenever they breed hot, that's what they do? Mm-hmm. Mary is going to give you the answer on if that is true or not and how it all plays out scientifically.
Sure. So I like to call it more of a cheat sheet, basically, when you're using these defects in your cattle, just to have some information of what you might be getting into versus what you actually will get out of a certain mating. And when people say a bull breed's hot, think of it as flipping a coin. You can flip a coin 100 times and you might hit heads 100 times, but there's a chance you're still going to get a tails too. So the genetics
are just... If you really
want
to live that out, I've done this before. Go to a roulette table and then look at, oh man, it's been black 8 times in a row. So you put all your chips on red.
Yeah.
And then
it's black again.
It's black again. And you got to find some more money so you can go all in because it's going to hit red, right?
It's got to.
But over the day, over the weeks, over the year, it all ends up balancing out.
Yep.
And so the bigger your pool is, the more close you get to some of these percentages that we'll see on this board.
Sure. And every time you breed, you're flipping a coin. So it's going to fall one way or the other.
I learned this in, I don't know, algebra, calculus, one of those
math classes.
And it's not you get this result 50% of the time. Mm-hmm. It's you have a 50% chance every time.
Sure.
And there's a big difference in how that plays out.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
Well, so we have a couple T's and a couple P's. What does all this mean before we get started?
Yeah, so this is what we call a Punnett square. And basically, this is what you're going to be utilizing when you're making your breeding decisions. So we have a couple already played out here for you. And what we're looking at is a TH carrier bred.
So the one on the left with the T's, that is the TH
defect.
Right?
Yep.
TH defect. Okay.
Yep. So the big T is emphasizing a dirty gene, and the little t is emphasizing a clean gene. So we're taking a carrier animal which holds one dirty allele and one clean allele and breeding it to an animal that's also a TH carrier, so a dirty allele and a clean allele. And we're seeing what percentages you'll get from that mating. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Perfect.
It's clear as mud.
Okay, so Punnett squares are really easy. All you got to do is lay them out like this and then do your drop downs. So this T is going to drop down to this box. So that dirty allele is going to drop down right there. And it's also going to fall to the bottom as well. So we're just going to go ahead and bring that down. This dirty allele is going to cross over and it's going to land right there. So it's another dirty allele for the TH gene. And then this one is clean. We're going to cross it over. So you're getting a carrier animal and a positive animal. And you'll just continue that theme throughout. So this T is going to carry over. And this clean allele is going to carry down. So same thing. So with this particular mating,
which is a TH carrier bull on a TH carrier cow. Correct?
Perfect. Yep. You're going to get 25% of the time, you're going to get an animal that is TH positive, which is, TH is a lethal gene. So that's going to be, unfortunately, a dead calf.
And some of these, there's some interesting things around these positives. One is also, unfortunately, they can be born alive.
You're right.
And a lot of times when they're very thrifty, vigorous calves. Mm-hmm. However, their problems are so severe they cannot live. A lot of times you'll see a herniated abdomen mm-hmm. where the guts are on the outside or mm-hmm. about to be. You'll see a hole in the skull where you can actually see their brain. The legs will be deformed and kind of joints fused where they can't flex them and use them. It's very sad because the calves have a lot of want to, but there's just no way that they can live.
Right, exactly.
Another interesting thing about the positives, something we have noticed, and if you've seen or had something different, we'd love to know. So you drop a comment, reach out to us in some way. All the positive TH animals that we have studied, seen, or heard about have been males. No positive TH females that we know about. And so that's an interesting thing. And a lot of times when people say, hey, this one breeds hot, I'm willing to bet that they do IVF sex male. Mm. And that's why they get more of those positive THs.
Could be. Let us know. 50% of the time, you're going to get carrier animals, which means that they only carry one of those alleles and the other one is clean. So that animal is perfectly fine. Not any negative defects whatsoever.
And that's actually a lot of the people that want to leave that gene in. 50% of the time, you're going to get what you want. You're going to get that carrier that has the bone, has the hair, has the stoutness. And another misnomer is when people want to breed TH on TH to up their chances. If you do a Punnett square like this, it still ends up 50% carriers. Mm-hmm. You just have also 50% dead ones.
Right. So then, last but not least, you still have a 25% chance of getting a calf that's TH free. So even though you're breeding carrier to carrier, you can still get a clean TH animal.
And you say that's free because there's too little T's? Is that correct?
Yes. So there's no TH defect present. Both of these alleles are clean for the DS.
So defect. If I breed that animal, if I'm somebody who wants to eradicate this from my herd, and I bred In God We Trust to a heat wave, and they were two carrier animals, mm-hmm. and I got a clean one, and I continue to breed that animal clean, mm-hmm. you telling me TH won't pop back up?
Nope. Because it doesn't have a dirty allele to pass on to the next generation. It's always going to give one of two. When you breed an animal, you're going to get an allele from the sire and then an allele from the dam. If it doesn't have a dirty allele to pass on,
we've eradicated.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. And so this other one where you have the P's, this is for PHA, another one that we test for. Does it work similar to the TH? Exactly
the same. So PHA is also a lethal defect. So your percentages are going to be exactly the same. So 25% chance that you're going to get a positive animal, which is a dead animal. 50% chance that you're just going to get a PHA carrier, which means that 50% of the time they're going to pass on a PHA defect gene, and 25% chance that you're going to get a PHA free animal.
What if I had a PHA carrier and I bred it to a TH carrier? What are my chances of getting problems then?
Is your animal that you're breeding it to the vice versa?
I'm an Aggie. I don't know what vice versa means.
So if you take a TH carrier.
A TH carrier only and a PHA carrier only.
Take these two exact scenarios. That's what you're going to get. So your statistics aren't going to change because this gene deals with itself and that gene deals with itself.
Wait, tilt it back up a little bit.
Better? Okay.
So you're telling me if my bull, In God We Trust, TH carrier only, gets bred to my Irish whiskey cow that's a PHA carrier only,
right,
that I won't get any mess ups?
No, because these two defects do not interact with one another.
Okay.
They're on their own gene, separate gene.
All right. So I hope y'all are tracking and y'all see not only that these two don't interact with one another, but how you can utilize them and how you can do your breeding scenarios to help your operation. Mary, can you show us real quick on the maybe this P side, if you changed, so the top one is easy to see that that's a carrier. There's a big P and a little p. On the left, could you do 2 little p's?
Of course.
And so we can see, okay, if I breed my PHA carrier to a clean one, what are my chances there? What does that look like?
Sure. So, same thing, you're just going to drop down and cross over. So, we'll bring our big P down, which is your dirty allele. Big P down. And then we'll go ahead and bring our other little P down. And the last one. So then you're just going to take this side and it's going to cross over. So bring your little P over, little P over, little P over, little P. Oops. Okay.
So now how do our percentages shake out from a PHA carrier, so Irish whiskey, bred to my triple clean Angus cow?
Right. So ignore these percentages. And now you're looking at 50% chance of getting a carrier, PHA carrier animal.
And it's carrier because there's one big P, one little p?
Right.
Okay.
And a 50% chance of getting a clean animal. So instead of 25 and 25, we're dealing with 50-50.
So it's really just like flipping a coin.
It is just like flipping a coin.
So whenever I breed Irish whiskey PHA carrier to a triple clean one, 50% of the time I can get a carrier, 50% of the time I'll get a clean one, and none of the time I'll get a dead positive, correct?
Correct, yep.
Awesome. Now, at Express Livestock Genomics, we test for 3 genetic defects. These are 2 of them, TH and PHA. The third is DS.
Yep.
Now, this one comes with a little nuances, but it is very I don't know what the word is, but we need to figure out this DS thing because it's the most prevalent of the 3 defects. Of all the tests that we run, of all the thousands of animals that we run tests on, the most prevalent carrier animal that comes through our system is a DS carrier animal.
Right.
So let's get in a little bit, since it's so prevalent, how this DS deal works. And then we'll go through some scenarios on how to breed around and with it. Okay, now we have another Punnett square system set up to show you what happens whenever you breed DS. Now, DS is a little bit different because it is not a lethal gene. The other 2 genes that we had, the TH and the PHA, they were lethal genes, which means whenever you had that positive, that animal was dead. So if you notice on this first Punnett square that we're going to do here, there's a positive animal that's breeding a carrier animal. You'll never have this scenario with the other 2 genetic defects because you'll never have a positive animal that's alive to be able to breed. With a DS, there's a very good chance that your positive animals will mature and grow out to be breeding pieces for you. So here we're going to look at a scenario where we have a DS positive, like the one and only Nelson, bred to a DS carrier, which, like we talked about earlier, is the most prevalent of anything that is out there in the breeding pool is DS carriers. So Mary, tell us what shakes out here.
Yep. So up here, we're taking a DS positive animal. So that's represented by, it has 2 dirty alleles to pass. It does not have a clean allele to pass on. So that's what makes it DS positive. The DS carrier animal has the 1 dirty allele and the 1 clean allele. So you set up your Punnett square exactly the same way as the TH and PHA and throw your letters over. So bring your positives down and your carriers over, and what you get is 50% of the time you're going to get a DS positive animal, and then 50% of the time you're going to get an animal that's just a DS carrier. There is no breeding scenario with these 2, with this mating, that you're going to get a DS clean animal.
So tell me this, Mary, if it's not a lethal gene, should I have any type of caution with a mating like this on getting these positive animals, or a 50% chance for a positive animal?
Yeah, for sure. So just because they're a positive animal, they can be perfectly fine. Phenotypically, nothing wrong with them. But there is a chance with a positive animal that those genes are going to be turned on and they're going to express that DS defect, which is digital subluxation. So those back legs are going to be, they can be twisted in very significantly or very mildly. And some of them grow out of it over time, but some of them don't.
Yeah. And it's sometimes it's 1 limb. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's the 2 back limbs. Mm-hmm. A lot of people call it the tree climber because they kind of got hooks. Mm-hmm. And if you look at an x-ray of these animals in their pastern, you're supposed to have some grooves that joint sits in. Mm-hmm. And basically in these DS animals, this is flat and there's no groove. It's basically sitting like that. And that's why you get a contorted ankle. Right. And it can't really be fixed. Mm-hmm. And so some of them, the groove is just kind of flattened. So it would be more like on my pinky and ring finger rather than my middle finger here. And so that's the ones that kind of grow up and they kind of get along because they do have a little groove to set in place. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times that thing is very flattened out and there's mm-hmm. just no...
They just kind of buckle over.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a very harsh angle there mm-hmm. At the foot joint. And if you're not around them to baby them, those animals oftentimes will die, just natural causes, not being able to get up and get around like the others. But some of them can still get along. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now we have 50% of those with this graph, can you tell me which ones are going to have crooked ankles and which ones aren't?
Man, if I could, I'd be making a heck of a lot more money.
Oh, so like what type of risks are we taking here?
I'd say, what would you say, 50% of the time you have a positive animal? Maybe a little less than that.
So the interesting thing about DS is there is two different strands of it based on how it's expressed. These defects, some of these animals have the gene that expresses it harshly, and some of them have a gene that doesn't show the negative abnormalities very often at all. An example I like to use with some common pedigrees is the bull Amazing Grace in the clubby world, the bull Perfection in the shorthorn world. These bulls are DS carriers that very few times whenever you're breeding these bulls will you get a positive that doesn't look awesome. You'll get a positive that doesn't have the crooked ankles. And so you're like, okay, what bulls do pose these problems? One of my favorite bulls, and a bull that's made some champions in the Texas show circuit, is a bull called Standout. Standout is a TH carrier and a DS carrier. But if he smells a DS carrier on the cow, a lot of times you get the crooked stuff. And so he is one that I'll use the term, he does breed hot for DS. And it can be accurately used here, unlike the TH and a PHA, where it's pretty strict and stays true to form with your graph.
Sure.
So if DS carrying animals are so prevalent, can you show us what a DS carrier to a DS carrier looks like?
Of course, yeah. So that's going to be depicted over here. So we have an animal that is a carrier. So you have your dirty allele and your clean allele. Same down here. We're taking let's say the cow is a carrier. So she's going to have a dirty allele and a clean allele. So you're just going to do your Punnett square exactly as we did before. And 25% of the time, you're going to get a DS positive. Does that mean that you're going to have one fouled up? Not necessarily. 50% of the time, you're going to get a DS carrier, which is perfectly fine, rock stars. And you still have a 25% chance of getting a DS clean animal that has zero issues whatsoever.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Cattle Coach Academy. This is an online course that's whole objective is to help make you profitable. You take your cattle business and what you know, and then couple it with the teachings and strategies that are brought forth to you in this course, and it'll take you to a whole nother level. It is designed and goes into detail about the ins and outs of managing your money, treating your cattle business not so much just as a passion, but as a business. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in, click the link below and check out the Cattle Coach Academy today. Now, let's get back to the show. No defects in their gene pool. They came out whistle clean.
Right.
And if you'll notice that carrier to carrier, those percentages is the exact same on how it worked out in our TH and our PHA. The difference is the positives are not lethal. However, they may give you an abnormality that's harsh enough that the animal has to be put down or can't live, but there's still a chance that that animal, even though positive, is perfectly fine, perfectly normal. Mm-hmm. Two examples of that are Nelson. He's a TH carrier and a DS positive. Take Me to Church. He's a DS positive. Dakota Gold. He's a DS positive. These are bulls that got that both dirty alleles. They became homozygous for it. They have it. They are it, but they don't have the abnormalities that we don't like tagged along with it.
Right. All the good, none of the bad.
That's right. That's right. Now, there is another nuance with the DS, and that is that it can cross with one of our other defects. Which one is that?
PHA. So DS and PHA are located on the same gene. So when you get an animal that's a carrier for both, they have a high probability of those genes interacting together and causing problems.
Now, we can't give you a Punnett square for that. There's not a scientific structure that's going to tell us how often that's going to hit and give you problems. The reason being is because they still are two different genes. However, Mary can explain to you in the proper terms, they're right beside each other on this DNA chain, and that's why sometimes they hit as one another, correct?
Yes, yeah. And if the genes are turned on and they're interacting together, it just creates a whirlpool effect of negativity, basically. So those animals, when they're born, those calves are often very, very small. They're like dwarfs in size. Their back legs are all twisted up. They have kind of like the short, snotty nose. Some of them don't have a tail. They're just...
And something that I've seen probably even more often than that, and it's something that a lot of us don't see because of how it shows itself. At the very beginning of the third trimester, a lot of these cows will abort and the calf will look like a hairless Chinese pug.
Mm-hmm.
And not all of us are around these cows every day during that time of gestation. And so we miss it a lot of times. But if you have some cows that palpated bred early and then end up open, and you had a mating that was a PHA carrier on a DS carrier, a lot of times that's what happened. And it's fortunate because what we haven't talked about is whenever you have a positive PHA, it's not like the TH where that animal can be born alive but end up dying and has these deformities. It's like a baby sea lion, a baby walrus. Those animals in utero consume a lot of water, and they can get up to 300 pounds. A lot of times, if you don't C-section them, it'll kill the host cow. And so there's a lot of problems with PHA. And so thankfully, we don't see that at full term when DS and PHA cross. It's just an array of other problems. Let's go through a couple scenarios where, okay, what can I cross with this and not cross with this? What am I okay with, and what do I need to stay away from whenever these three defects are all prevalent in my cow herd? All right, the inspiration that we have for this graphic, y'all need to take a screenshot of this. We have this kind of drawn up for one of the big dogs in the business. Brandon Horn there in Anson, he kind of said, hey, tell it to me pretty simple and just like pretend I'm as dumb as they come and just give it to me as straight as you can. And so Mary came up with this graphic. Even when we test bulls for them and stuff, a lot of times in the remarks, she just puts a smiley face, a frowny face, something like that for them. And it's a very effective graphic. So Mary, what do you have going on here?
Yep. So this is just a quick, if you're looking at bulls, you're looking at semen to buy, and you're online, you're trying to get those bids in real fast, and you see that you got a TH carrier. Well, I got a TH carrier cow. Is that good? No, it's not good. Yeah, just real quick.
All right. So we have a TH carrier on a TH carrier. No. PHA carrier on a PHA carrier. Nah. DS carrier on a DS carrier. Why? What's 6?
6, 7.
What does this face mean here?
That's the 25% chance that you're going to get a positive animal. Is that positive animal going to have problems? It might.
Yeah, there's a chance that it could, but it's a very high chance that it won't. You're looking at probably, if you say that in that scenario, 25% of the time that you're going to get a DS positive. So 25% of the time is the only time that you'd have a chance for a defect. Now, you also told me that a DS positive doesn't necessarily have to have a defect. So you can take that 25% and just rough numbers, cut that in half. And in that scenario of a DS carrier to DS carrier, by those numbers, your math comes out to 12.5% chance on that mating of having a problem.
Right.
So that's why a lot of the times I don't discourage people from breeding a DS carrier to a DS carrier. It's a very low defective chance. And even if you get the defect, it's not a lethal abnormality that they have usually. And so, plus, even before we were testing for DS, it was still out there, and we were doing this pretty often as breeders. And it's because you can hit at a pretty high rate of not having problems. Now, you have a DS and a PHA.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that a problem?
That's the one we talked about earlier. So DS and PHA are located on the same gene. So when you get an animal that's a carrier for both, statistically, if it came across in your Punnett square and that animal was a DS carrier and a PHA carrier, those genes have a high probability of interacting negatively, where you get those physical abnormalities that you don't want to get in your calves.
Yeah, and we can't scientifically give you a hard statistic on what probability they are going to have of hitting negatively, just because it's kind of by chance on if they hit or not. But what you really don't want to do, where those chances really jump up, is breed a DS positive to a PHA carrier. Those will hit with abnormalities at a very high rate.
Right. Because there's a higher statistical probability of passing on the DS gene along with the PHA.
Yeah. Now, I want to get into a scenario. We talked about DS being the most prevalent, but probably the most sought after in the show steer world particularly is this TH carrier gene. We want TH carriers. They're the ones that win. They're bigger bone, stouter, hairier. And so with all of the things we have going on in our gene pool, I want to show y'all the versatility that an animal that is a TH carrier only, the type of versatility they have when breeding around this stuff and trying to collect these carriers in your gene pools in a way that you don't get abnormalities. So we're going to show you on this board different kind of cross-referencing and using all these defects in the same cattle and showing you the cool things this TH carrier animal can do. I hope y'all are finding this a little bit more interesting than baby Peyton over here. We put her right to sleep already, but we're wrapping this up. And I wanted to end with another graphic. And this graphic is explaining the versatility of an animal in this realm where you have an operation where you want these carriers. If you desire to have these carrier animals because they're superior in the show ring and you want to leave them in, this is the graphic that you're going to want to see. And it's really highlighting the versatility of an animal that's a TH carrier only. This would be like In God We Trust. He's TH carrier, DS free, PHA free. If you look at this graphic, pretend that where you see THC on the left is In God We Trust, TH carrier only animal. And you cross that animal with what's on the other side of the plus sign. You cross them to another TH carrier animal. We don't want to do that. We already discussed it, frowny face. But look here, you take a TH carrier animal to a PHA carrier animal, smiley face, no chance of defects, but you have a chance to get a TH carrier, you have a chance to get a PHA carrier, and you have a chance to get a TH and PHA carrier without any defects. Mm-hmm. Then a TH carrier on a DS carrier. This is the most common animal in the show cattle world. Here I am, carpe diem. Almost pick a bull that you like, and that's what he is. TH carrier, DS carrier. Whenever we do that cross, smiley face. We can have triple clean animals in this mating. We can have TH carriers. We can have DS carriers. We can have TH and DS carriers, none of which present us a problem, right?
Right.
Now we get into an animal here where we have, In God We Trust, a TH carrier, crossing with an animal that's a DS carrier and a PHA carrier. in those parentheses is that animal. It's a DS carrier and a PHA carrier. Now, in the making of that animal, it beat the odds, because if you cross that PHA and DS, we already talked about there's a high probability of having problems. Well, this animal here beat the odds because it came out a DS carrier and PHA carrier without the abnormalities. So how do I breed it? Am I going to get problems whenever I breed it? If I take that animal and breed it to a triple clean animal, I'll have a chance of having DS carrier and PHA carrier without the chance of having abnormalities. I don't want to breed it to a DS carrier because everything can pop back up again. But the cool thing is, whenever I breed it to a TH carrier, like in God We Trust, I don't have the chance of the abnormalities. I have a chance of having a triple dirty animal. I have a chance of having a double dirty animal in 2 different scenarios, or 3, really. I can have another DS and PHA. I can have a DS and TH, and I can have a TH and PHA, all without the presentation of these negative abnormalities. That's why I think a TH carrier animal is so cool and so versatile, because look at all of our scenarios where we have a bunch of genetic defects thrown in these pedigrees, but look at all of our smiley faces. That's what I think is really cool. I think that's why In God We Trust has had an impact like he's had. Not only does he breed good, but look at all the scenarios in which he was used without throwing away some animals that have abnormalities. Take a screenshot of that, back up, re-listen to any parts that you need to listen to. Maybe you need to wake up like Peyton over here. Don't pinch the baby. But hopefully this helped you. I like to give you some visuals. If you ever have any questions, either if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, just drop us a comment on here. Or you can call Mary at the office at Express Livestock Genomics. Look us up online. We do our testing within 2 weeks of whenever we get your samples in. That's the fastest in the world. We also have a rush fee where we can do it. You can jump to the front of the line and we can get it done even faster. I say we loosely. Mary can get that done. But I hope that y'all have gotten a lot out of this. I hope that you've learned a little bit. You can take this and utilize it in your operation. And if y'all have appreciated Mary, just give, while you're sitting there in your car listening, just give her a round of applause. She is the MVP around our place, and she helps breeders like you all around the world, all around the United States particularly, with these genetic defects. Thank you, Mary, for joining us.
Of course.
All right, that wraps us up for today's episode. Thank y'all for tuning in.